All right, I'm just gonna take just a second before we get started. All right, let me share my screen here. Share screen over here. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining Perfect Your Pitch. My name is Gerard Longo. I'm the founder and CEO of Underground Music Collective, and I also designed this course to help you build authentic connections as an independent artist. Of course, we have more tools than ever at our disposal to do that, but how do you do it? Where do you get started? And how do you connect not only to your audience, but to opportunities in the industry? We're going to cover all that here today. So, really appreciate you joining. And as people come in, definitely we'll add you and you can join the conversation. So, first and foremost, who am I? And why am I here? And why am I telling you how to perfect your pitch to your audience as well as to tastemakers in the industry? Well, my name is Gerard Longo. As I mentioned, I am the founder of Underground Music Collective, which we started up in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania as Lehigh Valley Underground, a regional music blog. And then we moved here to Nashville, Tennessee at the end of 2018. And before that, and to this day, still the host of the Quinn Spin podcast. Of course, yes, two N's in Quinn, two N's in Spin. And we interview artists, creatives, anybody with a story who wants to tell that story and use it to better humanity. So 11 years running there. And then I'm also the co-founder of Nash Live, which is our experiential live event platform here in Nashville. Got a big one coming up actually July 20th. So if you'll be in Music City, we hope you'll join us. And where have I appeared? I've appeared on iHeartRadio, Music Row Magazine, Fox News Digital, Authority Magazine. I mean, they don't need me to read that off, but that's the list. There are more than that. And we've partnered with a bunch of prominent organizations as well, both locally here in Nashville, back home in Bethlehem, and just around the world. So we've been there, we've done it. We've had a chance to really experience a lot in this industry, as far as building this platform, working with musicians, and really helping them get the most out of their creative endeavors. So that's where we're coming from here today. And the first question I have for everybody is, why is there a picture of a forest here? Well, the saying, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a sound? The answer is, of course not. Nobody's around to hear it. Therefore, nothing but silence. So how does that relate to your music? Well, if you release your music and nobody's made aware of that music, you don't connect it to an audience, you don't connect it to opportunities to help spread the word, then it's the same thing as a tree falling in the forest. I like to say too, it's the equivalent of just, making this masterpiece and then putting it in a shoebox and burying it in your backyard. You want people to hear your music. You want people to hear what you've spent all your time, your effort, your money on. We know this is not a cheap endeavor, to have music professionally produced, to release it to the world, to invest in marketing strategy. So you want to make sure that the music and the pitch behind it is as good as it can be, right? And so another thing to keep in mind here, of course, is that opportunities to build your platform and connect to your audience are not just going to find you. I think, a lot of artists, when they are first starting out, have in mind, well, I'm a really good musician. All I need to do is just go to the right place, find the right people, and I'm going to be discovered. While talent will get you to a certain level, it's not going to take you all the way. And the truth is that you must do the work to raise awareness and stand out in a highly saturated competitive market. With technology being what it is, people having access not only to recording technology, but of course, social media and all these platforms to spread the word, it's easier than ever to put your music out there, but perhaps more challenging than ever to stand out amongst the crowd. So that's what we're here to help you do today, is to give you some techniques, some strategies to help you do that. And not only do you want to stand out your audience, but you want to stand out to tastemakers, to people providing the opportunities in the industry that can help your platform grow. These, of course, include media outlets, blogs, radio stations, podcasts. There's a lot of video podcasts, video blogs out there right now that are highlighting creatives, that are highlighting entrepreneurs and telling their stories. And of course, you as artists are entrepreneurs, and you definitely can have a piece of that pie. Talent buyers, promoters, people putting on events, people booking for venues, right? You want to have a compelling story. You want to give people a reason why they should book you over everybody else emailing them. In some cases, hundreds, if not thousands. When you're talking about major festival opportunities, when you're talking about really high profile venues, everybody wants to play these places. So what's going to set you apart? And of course, we're going to get more into that, but also to partners, potential sponsors, even potential investors, right? People that can help fund the vision, people that can collaborate with you to bring your vision to life, to bring your platform to greater prominence. Because of course, as people who are not only artists, but entrepreneurs, artistpreneurs, we need money to make the machine run. So finding collaborative partnerships is definitely a key component here in the 21st century. And of course, you want to still build your strong artist to audience connection. You want your people to not only engage with you, but to stay engaged, to stay tapped in. So we're going to cover all of that here today, give you some techniques, give you some what not to do as well. We're going to have some fun. Let's get started. And we get started with the two harsh yet simple truths that everybody must realize when entering the music industry. Harsh yet simple truth number one: being a good musician is not enough. Now, I can hear the groans out there. Of course, we all want to share our talents, our gifts with the world. It takes so much time to really craft those talents into something that we can't wait to present, right? Being a good musician is an important part of the equation. I am not belittling that at all. You have to be good. You absolutely have to be good. But consider this. There are thousands, if not millions, of people in the world who have enough natural musical ability to where if they applied that talent, they can make a run at this thing. They can make a run at gaining traction as an artist, as a songwriter, as a producer. There are so many people across the ecosystem, across the world, competing again for that market share, right? So you have to figure out what is going to set you apart from all of the other talented people out there. And that brings me to point number two. You must give people a reason to care. You must stand out in their minds among everybody who's doing something similar, stylistically, musically, what have you. Now, of course, you can tell that story with your professional achievements, especially if you've been in the game for a little while, right? You can talk about the notable credits, the people you've worked with, the collaborations you've had, any chart appearances. Of course, any impressive, relevant streaming or social media metrics are helpful to you. Any awards, whether they're local all the way up to Grammys, those are definitely resume builders. Any other career milestones you've had. Have you had a chance to play in prominent venues? Have you had a chance to play, festivals? Have you had a chance to be featured in sync, like television, film, commercials, that kind of thing? Of course, you can talk about your upcoming projects, your prior releases, tell the story of where you've been as an artist and as a professional. All of that's important. However, it must reside on a solid foundation of who you are. So who are you? Let me ask you this way. Name your favorite artist. Let's just say, for example, your favorite artist is Taylor Swift, right? Taylor is perhaps the most influential entertainer, not just musician, on the planet. I read an article, and again, it's the internet, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But I read an article that the NFL made the Kansas City Chiefs schedule for this upcoming season based on how many games Taylor Swift would be eligible to attend due to her touring schedule. They got it to where she could attend as many as 14 of the 17 games. Taylor Swift has influence over the NFL. Let's think about that for a second, right? But how did she do it? Did she just get there because she's talented, because she's good at what she does, because she writes good songs? That's part of it, right? But it's not just the music, right? Taylor Swift has this connection with her audience that is unlike anything the industry has ever seen, that rivals even that of Elvis Presley or the Beatles. I have friends who have daughters who can't really go a sentence or two without quoting or referencing Taylor Swift. She's packing stadiums all over the world, and she's packing stadiums all over the world multiple nights a week because of the way she connects with her audience, the way she maintains and builds upon that connection, and the way that she makes her audience feel something. That's a very important part of the equation as well. We buy as human beings based on emotion, not based on logic. You think of a product like Coca-Cola, which, consensus is it's not very good for you, right? But Coca-Cola does a great job at marketing happiness through their product. Therefore, people keep buying that product. People have to feel something. They have to feel a connection to you. They have to feel a connection to your brand, which is merely you amplified. It's an extension of who you are and what you're about. So how do you define that? Well, it starts with 3 magic letters. It starts with VMV. What is VMV? What does that stand for? The first V is the most fundamental component to building your artist brand. The first V is values, your core beliefs, your core ideas, your core ideals. What kind of impact do you want to have in the world? Why is that impact important to you? What about your life experience? What about the roads you have traveled informs those values and informs the ways in which you want to make the world a better place? Informs the ways in which you want to impact the world and impact people, impact lives through your art. Once you've nailed those down, we identify the mission. So from your values, based on that foundation, what have you been put on earth to do? What have you been put on earth to create? For many of you in the room, it's music, right? How do your values inform that mission? And then what is the vision for how that appears in the world in real time? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? Again, feeling. What feeling do people get from engaging with you? What feeling do people get from each time they experience you, experience your artistry, experience your brand? So there are a number of ways to help build that connection through your vision, working back to the mission, working all the way back to the values. What's the first thing you need, though, in order to do that as musicians, right? Music. You need music as musicians to give them that starting point. Again, the music is very important. It's a key component to your platform. It's not the whole thing. But of course, you have to make sure it's up to speed with what else is out there, what else is competing for market share with you, right? And so your music is essentially your sonic business card. So yes, it needs to uphold the ethos of your platform, the values, the mission, the vision, but it also needs to hold up alongside the work of your contemporary. So if you're a pop artist, it needs to hold up alongside the Taylor Swifts, the Lady Gagas of the world, right? If you're a country artist, it needs to hold up with, say, the Luke Bryants, the Beyoncé's nowadays. Beyonce just released a country album. It has to hold up. You have to be able to listen to this on a playlist and right next to your favorite artist, right next to any one of those artists I just named, and be like, you know what, that was a seamless transition. I could hear this on the radio next to them. I could hear myself performing on a festival right next to them. The quality's there, right? So let's get more into that, right? So some things to consider here. Does your songwriting hold up? Does your production hold up, like we said, alongside the most successful artists in your genre? Again, you put it to the test. Would it fit seamlessly alongside those artists on a playlist, on a radio station? You're not noticing a drop off in production from their song to your song. You're not noticing a drop off in quality of songwriting from their song to your song, right? Does it pass the test? Could it pass as among the best in the genre, right? Have you received feedback from industry professionals to help you bring it closer to that? These include, of course, producers, sync agents. Sync agents are so valuable, especially when it comes to pitching your music for opportunities in film, opportunities in television, opportunities in commercials. And a lot of times they are now looking to the artists. They're looking for artist created songs as opposed to songs written for sync. So getting valuable feedback from a sync agent and somebody who's been in that game will not only give you insight as to how to break into that world, but also how to connect. Because again, these songs are getting placed based on the feeling that they give. They're getting placed based on the feeling that they give, and therefore, these folks can help give you some keys to bring out that feeling more and connect to that audience. Have you gotten feedback from your fellow artists? Your fellow artists are a valuable resource because they're right there in the trenches with you. They can tell you what they feel works and what doesn't. They can tell you from their creative perspective what ideas they might have to sweeten the pot, right? And I think when you're taking all this feedback, again, keep an open mind to the change that might come about from that, right? Because nothing's perfect on the first try. Absolutely nothing is perfect on the first try. You know, you're going to get feedback. You're going to get new ideas. Somebody might spark an idea in you, and that might give you some new direction. That might give you some new inspiration. That might help you realize something about your approach even that you need to change to make things better, that you feel compelled to work into your own process, right? All of this feedback is valuable in the sense that it gives you new ideas. You get to decide which of those ideas work for you and your platform and which don't. But it's important to listen, and it's important to understand where the feedback is coming from so you can make that decision. So while you're working on that, while you're honing your sound, while you're getting that sonic business card ready, it's also important to think about, well, what was that second harsh yet simple truth? You've got to give people a reason to care, right? And how do you give people a reason to care? Well, you must give them value. You must give them some kind of feeling back, right? So take the time to develop the value your audience will get from listening by developing your value proposition. And this is the value proposition of your entire artist brand, of which your music is a part, right? So create your value proposition. You might be wondering, what is a value proposition? I don't know what this is. I'm just here to write songs and make music, right? To create your value proposition, answer this question. What can your audience get from you and your artistry and your platform and your ecosystem that they won't find anywhere else? We go back to the Taylor Swift example. All the Easter eggs that she puts into her work, right? The ways that she connects with her Swifties. The ways that she tells her story as only Taylor Swift can. Her audience can't get that from anybody else in quite the same way, right? So a couple examples of value proposition. I'll start with Underground Music Collective, right? Because for the longest time, our bio, our value proposition looked like this. Underground Music Collective is a music blog based in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay, it gives you the very basics of what we are, right? But what doesn't it tell you? It doesn't tell you specifically what we do. It doesn't tell you why we do it. It doesn't tell you the desired outcome and the desired value that the audience will get from engaging with us as opposed to any other, right? Because we are competing for market share as well, you know? And of course, there are tons of music blogs and podcasts and outlets based in Nashville, based all over the world. What sets us apart, right? So a good example, and I'm always looking for ways to make this example better, by the way. It's always evolving, right? Based on how we evolve and based on how I want to present the information. But here's what I've landed on for now. Underground Music Collective is a Nashville-based multimedia and educational platform which inspires independent artists to think like entrepreneurs. It does a much better job of telling you who we are and what we're about, right? Of course, we're a multimedia platform. That includes the blog. That includes the Quinn Spin podcast. That includes the content we're rolling out on social media. Multimedia, multiple kinds of media. Educational platform, well, we're right here, UMC Academy. You know, we are here to educate. We're here to inspire. We're here to get you thinking like entrepreneurs, get you thinking holistically about what your platform is and what it can do, not only for you, but for your audience and the impact that it can have, right? And how do you do that? How do you build that ecosystem to get people in and keep them coming back and keep them there and keep that platform and ecosystem growing to greater impact? That says way more than we're just a music blog based in Nashville. right? Another example. John Smith is a singer-songwriter from Anywhere, USA. And yes, I chose the most plain name I could have. Good example. John Smith combines modern pop production with folk-inspired storytelling, creating relatable songs which destigmatize mental health and addiction. Why is that a better example? Because it tells you a bit about John's why here, right? It tells you that perhaps we can deduce that he has himself struggled with mental health and addiction, or has been close to somebody who has, right? And so he wants to make that feel more human. He wants to make that feel more relatable through his songs to help heal his audience, to help give his audience perspective, and perhaps to give the same to himself, right? This also, earlier in the description, earlier in the value proposition, tells you the type of music he makes: pop production with folk-inspired storytelling, right? So kind of a folk pop vibe. You might think like a Mumford & Sons or a Lumineers kind of thing, right? It kind of gives you this mental picture of what it sounds like, and also the types of things you can expect to hear when John starts singing, right? Way better than saying I'm a singer-songwriter from Anywhere, USA. You and everybody else, right? Got to find a way to make yourself stand out. So now that we've developed our value proposition, how do we present that unique value? In a number of ways. I'm glad you asked. Of course, through your music, through your recorded music that you're putting out there. Again, we've gone through that already, but here's some other ways. Live events. Here's a question I'll always ask, and here's something that we try to do with each of our events that we host, both through UMC and through Nash Live. How is each event a unique, on-brand experience for your audience versus just another show? I've been in the game for about 11 years now, and I've been guilty of this myself. Just, listing the names on a flyer, maybe with a headshot, and saying, these bands are playing at this time, at this venue, come see it. Okay. I live in Nashville. There's like a million shows going on at night. What is setting my experience apart to where that's the place to be versus all of the other music and all of the other talent in Nashville, even here in Bethlehem, right? You're going to be at the start of Music Fest. We're going to be at the start of Music Fest in August, where I'm presenting this next. And Music Fest has 500 acts across 10 days. How are you promoting your gig, your slot at the festival, to where it's like, this is the one you got to come see? I'm bringing this out. I'm going to create this kind of experience during my set. You don't want to miss this. Create that fear of missing out. There's no shame in creating some FOMO so people come out and see what you have to offer and how you have to present it. Create experiences through each live event opportunity that you have. Leave people with a feeling of, you know what, that was really cool. I want to come to the next one. I want to see what he or she or they are cooking up next, because that was awesome and it can only build from here. So just some perspective on live events there. Of course, your digital presence, right? How are you using social media, your email list, web, going live, all that stuff to build community with your audience? What story are you telling? How, again, are you making your audience feel something and engage with you, right? So many artists, especially local artists, will just post their gig schedule. Come on out for food, drinks, and great music from 8 to 11. All right, I might do that. Could be in the mood for some wings, maybe a cold one. But also I could get that 20 other places. Why should I come to see you? Why should I continue engaging with your content? How is your content making me think? How is it making me feel? What is it giving to me, again, coming back to that point that I can't get anywhere else, to where I keep coming back to engage, to where I keep coming back to watch the story unfold, to follow your journey. And of course, it's all nothing if you don't live it in everyday life, right? Your brand, again, is you amplified. It is merely who you are turned up to 11. You don't have to manufacture anything. As a matter of fact, I would recommend that you don't manufacture anything, because people are going to see through that right away. In everyday life, do your actions, your interactions create an accurate reflection of who you are and those values, the mission, the vision we defined, and who you present yourself to be through your digital presence, through live events, and of course, through your music. And of course, as we go, there are always measurements, adjustments to make to this whole process, things that we learn about the process. And again, having been in this 11 years, I have made more mistakes than I ever thought I'd make in my life. But each of those mistakes shines a light on the way to go. It points your compass in a truer direction. And it gives you things to think about as far as how to improve your processes, to build your platform, and to reach more people. So let's start with the data that you're collecting, the feedback that you're getting from your audience, or perhaps that you're not getting right now, right? How are you utilizing audience information to build a strong community and continue the conversation? Everybody's got to have systems. It's so important. This is a lesson I've had to learn the hard way. But now that I've begun to implement systems as far as how to collect data, how to utilize that data, how to engage with people, understand what the audience wants, we're able to provide more of that to them, right? So what systems do you have in place to track that data, to track that input that you're getting from your audience so you can make decisions that are moving you all in the direction you want to go, right? So do you have a CRM system to track audience and customer data? I have a great one. It's called Millionario. I've been using it over the past several months to build out Underground Music Collective, to build out this virtual academy, right? And it lets me do everything as far as setting up my funnels. I can schedule my social media posts. I can send out emails, text messages. I mean, I'm just beginning now to tap into all the robust functions of this thing. And having a tool like that at your disposal is absolutely worth the investment, right? And right in that, have you built lead magnets? Have you given people something to engage with, like a free webinar, right? If you're an educator like me, to bring them into your ecosystem and to make them want more, right? What process are they going through? What is the customer journey like? And this does translate to you as an artist, right? So like, you get that email. How are you keeping them there? How are you leading them to make a decision to eventually buy your merch, buy a ticket to the show, buy your music? Because people still do buy music. But a lot of times that's reserved for the artists that they most identify with, that they are most connected to, right? Streaming, of course, we know has made it more challenging to sell music overall. But if you develop that true audience, that true fan base, who's heard of the 1,000 fans theory, right? The 1,000 true fans. You have those 1,000 true fans that whenever you drop something, they'll be there for you and they'll be there to pick it up. You won't have a problem selling your music. But how are you leading them in? How are you taking them on a journey? And how are you, in the process of that, connecting with them and meeting them where they are, right? And then how are you continuing to use that data to measure and adjust, give your audience more of what they want, right? So if you're getting a lot of good feedback on something, okay, I like doing this. My audience seems to be responding well to it. I'm going to do more of it. If you're not getting good feedback on something, all right, that didn't work. Maybe we sunset that. Maybe we phase that out, or maybe we just do less of it until we can figure out a better way to make it work. And then, of course, in all of this too, it's thinking, well, what resources do you have or need to develop better systems, to capture better data, to build a better audience, right? What financial resources do you need, right? Like the software I have, the CRM that I told you about, it ain't cheap, but it's a worthwhile investment, so I'm willing to go make and spend the money to continue to invest in that software, right? And so, having those resources, not only to develop your systems, but also to develop your brand, develop your content, anything that you're putting out into the world that you need, right? It all comes down to the financial resources you have to invest, and then the tools that you purchase or invest into with those resources, right? And that includes your human resources too. Nobody can do this alone. And as somebody who's been guilty of trying to do that before, I can tell you, the minute you identify the needs that you have from a team perspective and start to address those needs, the easier your life will be. A lot of artists I see out there, oh, I wish I didn't have to post content all the time. I wish I didn't have to post on social media. Well, then figure out a way to delegate that to somebody who is dedicated and passionate to doing that. So you can focus more on the parts of your ecosystem and your business where you excel, where you are passionate, right? There are passionate people who can fill every role on your team and who are aligned with your values. Just comes down to attracting them and enlisting their services. So we've covered a lot here so far. And now we're preparing to pitch. So we've gone over the audience connection. We've gone over where your music needs to be, the place that you need to be as an artist. So as we prepare to pitch for opportunities, of course, those are media, live performance, sync, partnerships. We've already built our audience. We have them. We have a good flow with our audience. We have good engagement. We have all that stuff. We have the systems in place to keep building that momentum, to keep building that ecosystem with them. You want to make it easy for tastemakers to find all the information they need on you as an artist and the audience you've built, right? So a great way to do this, of course, is by building an electronic press kit, or EPK for short. If you don't know what an EPK is, it's a digital document, usually a web page. Sometimes I'll still see a PDF one as an email attachment that tells the story of your artist platform, the story so far anyway, right? So, of course, it contains your biographical information. It's reflective of your VMV, your values, mission, and vision. And it contains relevant audience metrics, your socials, your streaming, career milestones, and, of course, information about current and upcoming projects, right? So, good example here. These are my guys, Billy Bauer Band. I'm actually going to switch tabs for a moment here because I do have this pulled up on a different tab. So, basic EPK here. It's pretty straightforward as far as the layout here. So, of course, we start with a strong header image, and we give people a snapshot of what it's like, right? Of what the music is like. So you've got, if you like Dave Matthews Band, Philip Phillips, Dispatch, you might like these guys, alternative acoustic rock from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Additional ways to tap in with them pretty much right off the bat. You can go to Instagram, you can go to Facebook, you can go to Spotify and listen to them. And then a bio. Now, one thing, because I wrote this bio, and I wrote it about 5 years ago, one thing I definitely want to redo about this bio is I want to include more of who they are in it. Right now, it has tons of information about the things that they've done. Also, we have a couple band members that have been swapped out. But it doesn't tell you too much about who they are and why they do it. So that's something that this bio was written in 2019. Over the past 5 years, I've learned you got to connect to people based on feeling, based on who you are. So that's definitely an update I want to make. Multimedia, some strong photos. A lot of these were taken by yours truly at different points throughout our journey together. I've been working with Billy and the guys since 2018. Got a link to a music video. It's a pretty cool music video. Maybe tomorrow you should go check it out. And then we get to the release. Of course, the latest release, Live at Sherman Theater, was a live album that they had a chance to create while opening for Tim Reynolds of Dave Matthews Band and his project TR3. Really, really good live cuts. Definitely recommend listening to this. Of course, you have the streaming embed here. And then some press quotes. Oh, look, Underground Music Collective reviewed Live at Sherman Theater. Go figure. But also our good friend John Moser back there when he was at the Morning Call in Allentown had some very nice things to say about us as well. And then, this guy, tends to help them run things, down here. So you know who the contact is and you know where to contact them. All right. So that's just an example of an EPK. Again, there are definitely things about it I can see even now, like I'd like to update, right? Because it's always evolving and you learn things and you learn what to put in the mix. But that's a good way to start. That's a good place to kind of begin as you start to develop yours. So as you prepare your EPK, got to figure out where to send it, right? Who do you send it to? Okay, we talked about the basics, like at a high level, we talked about media, we talked about talent buyers and promoters, we talked about sponsors, partners, even potential investors at a certain point, right? By the way, side note, if you go for investors, you're also going to want to have a business plan written as to why their investment will be worthwhile. That's a different presentation. First thing is important to know where you stand in your journey, in your career, right? So if this is your first rodeo, and for many of you it might be, for some of you it might not be, but you might not quite know where to begin as far as pitching to media. That might be new to you. Or festival sponsors, whomever. Just keep in mind, taking a swing right for the big leagues might not garner the short-term results you'd like, right? So if you're just releasing your first project, don't really have a presence, you're pitching to Billboard and Rolling Stone, Billboard and Rolling Stone probably isn't going to give you the time of day. If you are just starting to play out live and you're pitching a Bonnaroo, probably same result, right? And again, sponsors, if they're going to give you funding in order to, present themselves through your platform, they're going to want to know that there's a return on the investment. So again, if the following's not there, the engagement's not there, you're not a platform on its way up already, it's going to be a tough go to get sponsors. So just keep in mind, it takes patience. You got to build some buzz. You have to have a marketing budget too to land a major opportunity. A lot of the opportunities, especially when you get to the major outlets, are pay to play, or there's some kind of investment involved. I'll give you an example. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing at all. As a matter of fact, I think we should all be willing to invest in our platforms. But like iHeart, when I've had the iHeart opportunities, and they offer you a promo package, right, where they'll give you social media content to share after from the studio if you choose to go in. And no brainer, right? Of course I'm going to take that because I get all this great content saying that I was at iHeartRadio headquarters in New York, right? Like, the thing is, like, these are businesses too. These are investments that we must make in order to build our platforms. But the attention that we get from an iHeartRadio, that we get from a billboard, from a Rolling Stone, is worth the investment as long as we have the systems in place to capitalize on the attention we're getting from that, right? And so here are some things to keep in mind. First of all, there are plenty of opportunities if you don't have that budget yet, if you're just starting out, don't know where to begin, for independent up-and-coming artists, right? Like, Underground Music Collective has been one of those for a long time, and we are still that. We still have the blog, we still review music. I don't get to review music as much as I used to or as much as I'd like because there are so many other things going on in the ecosystem, but we still do, right? And so, like, you have outlets like ours, you have independent outlets who want to help discover and break new music, and they'll give you a professional at bat. And if you can see that they'll give you a professional at bat in terms of the way they present their content and in the way that they treat the music with respect and reverence, that's a good building block for you. That's a good building block for your artist platform to build that buzz over time. How do you find them then, right? Well, the internet will help you. I mean, any reputable opportunity across the musical universe comes with a digital presence, right? All major festivals have a big digital presence. All smaller festivals have a digital presence. All publications, podcasts, you name it, have a digital presence. That's how they build their platforms in the 21st century. So a Google search is a good place to get started. If you search Nashville Music Blog, I believe we're still on the first page of Google, by the way, you'll find us. It'll turn up plenty of results, and you get to go around pitching and also learning what you need to connect with people directly and what they might need from you, right? Another good way to build attention is to hire a publicist. I had the chance to work with a wonderful PR firm out of Austin, Texas called Branding PR. Brandy Sims and her team do a tremendous job. We still have a really good relationship with them. It's their job to find quality public relations opportunities for their clients, right? And they're going to have connections you don't. How do you think I got in iHeart? How do you think we got into Music Row? Because of the PR team. Now, I will say, one thing I realized through that first run with Brandy and her team was that I didn't have the systems in place to capitalize on that attention that we were getting. And so that's what I've been doing now is I've been going back, I've been developing the systems, identifying needs, identifying potential team members so we can grow the business, so we can do something to capture all this data we're getting from the attention that we're receiving, and then actually do something with it to grow the platform. So that's why I say there in orange, make sure you know what you'll do with the attention when it comes. Because the best publicists in the world will find you great opportunities. But if you don't have something to keep people there, then it's a flash in the pan. It's like that viral moment that goes up and then comes down. That 15 minutes of fame happens because people weren't prepared to extend it beyond 15 minutes, right? So something to keep in mind. But yes, I would absolutely, once you feel you have the systems in place and you're ready, hire a PR team. I'll give you Branding's info if you want. They are phenomenal. They did a world-class job, and I definitely look forward to working with them again. And then ask your friends, of course, your fellow musicians, other people in the industry, like pay attention to the moves they're making as far as the opportunities they're finding, or even the opportunities they're creating. Some of your friends might also be bookers. They might be putting on shows, events, experiences of their own. Ask how they make connections. Ask how you can be a part of their ecosystems as well. Don't be afraid to ask for introductions. Just make sure that you're giving something of value back and that you're willing to put in that work, right? Because that's very important. Again, we want to give value. We want to present ourselves as people who are good citizens of the ecosystems in which we participate, right? We want to give. We want to be giving people. There needs to be this value exchange, right? It's the same thing when you're developing your value proposition. What are you giving to your audience? What are you giving to your collaborators, right? And we're going to get more into that right now. Relationships are the most important thing really in life. let's be real here, right? The quality and the frequency of the opportunities you receive are in direct correlation to the quality of your relationships in music, in any industry, in any facet of life. And there are a few things to consider as you seek to build relationships with the people who hold the keys in this industry, right? First of all, get a sense of what their vibe is. When you're doing your research, make sure you do your research. Make sure you look into, okay, do I share similar values with this person, with this potential collaborator, with this platform, right? Like, do the vibes match? Can I see myself building a good working relationship with them? Do we share common goals? Do those goals come from a common place? I always say, I want to work with people doing good work for the right reasons, right? People doing good work, but there's a motive to serve. There's a motive to have an impact behind that, right? It's bigger than just them. So I'm going to align UMC, I'm going to align my platform with people who are moving in that direction, who want to create something of impact that goes beyond just them getting big and them getting rich and famous, right? I want to build together. I want to build ecosystems. I want to change this industry, in certain ways, right? I can't do that alone, right? So I want to make sure that I'm aligning myself with people who share those values, but also that I'm able to give something and bring something to the table to those people, right? How's the quality of their platform? I think it's important to keep in mind, certainly, in the beginning when we were just a blog and a podcast, I definitely see that like not all media opportunities are created equal. You have, some really good professional at bats, like I said, and you have some that, are more hobbyist, for lack of a better term. So think like, okay, if I work with this platform, right? If I take this opportunity, is it going to present me in a positive light? Also, that kind of goes back to values too, right? If I work with this person, how will the things they're putting out into the world reflect on me by association and reflect on my platform? Does that align with me? Is it going to present me and my platform and the people who tap into my platform in a fair and positive light? Also important, maybe not as important as it used to be, but still something to keep in mind. What genres do they feature? Because there are opportunities all across the board that only work in certain genres, whether that's media, whether that's festivals, performance opportunities, venues, right? Even partners and sponsors. Like even in this genre fluid world, like, you might have festivals or venues that are specifically rock focused, or you might have, media outlets that only focus on country or hip hop, right? So align, of course, with opportunities that match who you are, but also it's important to align with opportunities that match your musical output. And again, a lot of them these days will cover them all, right? But make sure you do your diligence and your research so you're making the best use of your time and theirs. And then once you've done all that, do a little deeper dive, find out specifically what they offer. Do they have, if they're media, do they have a podcast? Do they have a blog? Do they do interviews, longer form features, festival slots? How do you get tapped in with, certain opportunities, certain performance opportunities? Is there a specific process that you need to go through, right? And always keep in mind, like, when you're looking to pitch to something specific, pick out something that they do that you appreciate. Ask yourself, what do I appreciate about what they do and how they do it? Right? Because then you're going to be pitching from a genuine place of genuine interest in their methods and in the ways that they do their work, and the ways that they support artists like you, right? So once you've done that, once you figured out what they offer, once you decide to pitch for something specific, highlight the value that you offer them in your pitch. Remember this, the rising tide raises all boats. Tastemakers, whether in live music, whether in media, whether partners, people building companies and brands, they're all trying to build a platform just like you. I've felt the same way. Although I'm not an active musician, I will drop the mixtape one day. There's so many commonalities between the journey of building Underground Music Collective and the journey an artist goes through in building their platform, right? It takes good working relationships. It takes a lot of trial and error. It takes a lot of lessons along the way and applying best practices, especially across the digital ecosystem, but just in general, right? So you're on the same journey. It just might look and sound a little different. So identify how working together can be mutually beneficial. How can you support their efforts like you're asking them to support yours? And of course, ask good questions. I put good in parentheses because anybody could ask questions, but make sure that you've done research, that it's not just obvious that the answer that you're looking for. And if something's unclear after that research, reach out to somebody with the answer, right? Because again, like these are people building platforms, their time is precious and valuable, right? And so they want to know that you've done your homework. They want to know that you are interested in working with them and their platform and that you see value in them, right? Just like you want them to see value in you. So if you're just pitching and asking questions that could easily be Googled or right on the front page of their website or their socials, that's going to create the impression that you didn't do your research, right? So make sure you do your research. And after that, if you're still unclear on something, reach out to somebody who might have the answer. And usually it's pretty easy to find a contact. And then it's always safe to ask just how you can get involved too and what a mutually beneficial relationship looks like. That's a really good foot to get off on. Like, hey, I want to develop a relationship with your platform, with your festival, whatever it is. Like, how can I be of service? How can I be of value? How can I bring something to the table for you, right? That creates the impression right off the bat that this is bigger than you, that you want to build relationships, you want to build community, and you want to help other people succeed. That is a very, very, very green flag in this industry. We talked about green flags. Let's talk about some red flags. What not to do. This is my favorite segment of Perfect Your Pitch. And these are all based on true stories. Number one, do not present your work without confidence. Now I'm going to go with the whole, corny line here. You must be the first to believe in your dream. If you don't, who will? That is true, though. You have to believe in yourself before anybody else is going to. Quick anecdote here. This is back in the Lehigh Valley Underground days. I'm just going through pitch emails one afternoon, and I received one. I'm reading it. I'm like, all right, it's like this lo-fi indie pop project, getting the gist of it. And I'm like, all right, I might check this out. And then at the end of the email, the person said, and I quote, "I think it sounds okay. Sorry if it sucks." Do you think I listened? I didn't listen. And I didn't listen because I had 10 emails waiting for people who didn't tell me their music sucked. If you're telling me that what you're submitting might not even be worth my time to listen to, then I'm not going to listen to it. Especially when I know and I see familiar names in my inbox and I know, oh, they just released something. Okay, I'm going to run with that because I know what I'm getting into, right? Present with confidence. Now, there's a fine line. You don't want to be overconfident, be like, this is the greatest thing in the world. And then it sounds like, it was produced in one take inside of a metal trash can, recorded and produced. But definitely don't be afraid to say, hey, I believe in this song. Here's why. This is the impact I want to have. I'd love it if you would have a listen. Please let me know what you think. Asking for honest feedback, it's coming from a place of humility while also not shooting yourself in the foot by saying, oh, well, this probably isn't that great, but give it a shot, right? Present with confidence. Believe in what you're putting out there if you want anybody else to. What not to do, number two, do not engage in unprofessional behavior. Don't do it. Rule of thumb, be courteous, respectful, and accommodating as much as possible. Don't be rude. If your platform talks about, love and respect and, peace for all of humanity, the last thing you want to do is be a jerk, right? Because again, we go back to that earlier point. Are you showing up in the real world the way you show up online, the way you show up in your music, the way your platform presents you, right? Be courteous, be respectful, and be accommodating as much as possible to everybody you meet in the industry or not. Because people talk and behavior, reputations get around, especially in this industry. It's not that big an industry. And with that, handle rejection well. Rejection happens. If you find yourself taking it personally, like pause, reflect, like take a look back and make sure that everything you're putting forth is following the guidelines set forth, that you presented a compelling case, for the value that you can bring to the table in exchange for the value that you expect back, right? I mean, I see people all the time, I've seen people, who didn't get selected for festivals or who maybe didn't get the slot they wanted on the festival or the pay they wanted from the festival, saying online, just like bashing the organizations, bashing the people specifically by name. People see that stuff, man. People see that stuff and they're going to know who you are the next time you submit. They'll be like, oh, that person's difficult to work with. That person trashed us online. We're not working with that person. Handle rejection well. Tip your cap. Take the feedback. Integrate that feedback. Try better the next time. It's a game of adjustments, right? Don't be sloppy. Sloppiness is the kiss of death, right? And that means making sure, again, that everything's up to the standard it needs to be for the opportunities you're pitching for in terms of quality. Your music, your web presence, your socials, all of it, right? Time plus effort equals opportunities, and people can tell who's serious and who's investing in themselves as a professional versus those who aren't. And the professionals are going to get more opportunities because they've put the time, the effort in, and judging from that, they know what it takes to keep grinding in this industry, and they'll probably be easier to work with too. Don't be sloppy. Take care, pay careful attention to everything you do, and make sure it's the best it can be. The next point, do not try to be someone else. Be's in there twice. I'm going to fix that before August. So this can be kind of confusing, right? Because of course, we're all influenced by something. We're all influenced by artists, by other people, other creatives, right? There's a difference between being influenced by an artist and emulating that artist. I'll give you a great example, and this goes with my rule of thumb here at the bottom of this section. Every new iteration of the same thing will have diminishing returns. I grew up in the 90s. The boy bands were a big thing, and you had the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC at the top. Who was your number one? Who was your number two? Depended on your taste. I kind of skewed toward the Backstreet Boys, back in the day, growing up. But then you had 98 Degrees, still successful. Some hits there, some hits in that catalog. You had LFO, couple hits. New Kids on the Block had a bunch, but that's, anybody get that joke? Okay. O-Town, had Liquid Dreams, nothing at all. And then there's a whole bunch of other boy bands that were churned out of Orlando in a factory, it seems. Who remembers them? I mean, I do because I'm a nerd about this stuff, but your common person might not get past LFO or O-Town, right? And that's because it was a formula that was milk dry. Pop punk was the same thing in the late 90s, early 2000s. You can go down the line. Once something has been done, it's been done, right? So the moral of this story, what it comes back to is be yourself. Be influenced, but don't try to be the next Taylor Swift. Don't try to be the next Beyonce. Don't try to be the next 21 Pilots. Taylor Swift, Beyonce, 21 Pilots already exist, and you're not going to out Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift. You're not going to out Beyonce, Beyonce. There's a reason they are who they are. Be you. Lean into who you are. And that'll attract your audience way more than trying to be somebody else ever will. And then the last point here, do not give tastemakers even more work to do, right? So again, this goes back to the sloppiness point. Follow guidelines, include the required materials, everything they're asking for. If they want you to attach artwork, attach artwork. If they want you to attach streaming links, attach streaming links. If there's anything they're saying not to do, don't do it, right? Again, these are busy people trying to build a platform. They're receiving tons of inquiries, and it's very important in this and any industry to respect people's time, because time is the one resource none of us can get back, right? So be that artist who's going to go the extra mile, be that artist who's going to give them everything they're asking for, be willing to follow up, ask if they need anything else, anything, that needs to be clarified on your end. Do the diligence, do the work, and fortune will shine on you, and you're going to find more opportunities that way. Now, if you've enjoyed this presentation, I want to invite you to join the UMC Academy. We've had a tremendous time working with artists and creatives like yourselves who were looking to define that brand vision and looking to figure out what to do with that information, right? And how to build connections, how to build their platforms and their ecosystems. And so, these are a couple testimonials from folks that I've been working with for a while. Ender there at the bottom, actually, he is the first graduate of the UMC Academy, and we're working on coming up with some ways to work together. And right now we are running an offer that if you wanted to enroll in the Academy and receive one-on-one coaching, all of the things here are included, almost a $3,300 value. And if you join today, willing to give it to you for $500 a month. So that's one-on-one coaching with me once a week, right? So we'll get to work together. We'll start with the VMV, the values, the mission, the vision, and then we'll start to build out, okay, who's your audience? How do you connect to your audience? How do you then keep them engaged? What's working, what's not? How can we adjust? How can we measure, right? How can we connect to opportunities, identify opportunities? So that's what we go over in one-on-one coaching. We spark ideas. We hold each other accountable. We're here to serve you. We are here to help you build the platform, the ecosystem that you want, identify revenue streams, identify opportunities to bring people, to bring money, to bring new ideas and collaborations in, right? So that's what we're here to do. That's a $2,000 a month value alone. That plus everything else here, everything else that entails being a part of the UMC Academy, you get for just $500 a month. Software's not going to last for a long time. So make sure, if you're interested, please scan that QR code, sign up right now, and we'll get you onboarded. So, and there's even opportunities in here to make money. See there at the bottom, inclusion in UMC's affiliate program. That's where if you refer people to the Academy, if you refer people to our merch store, we're launching a creative agency. If you refer people to any of our services or products, you get a commission from that. So it's an opportunity for you to make money, which again, helps you generate revenue for your platform. So there's a chance here to enroll and make some money back to invest further in your career, or just, take a vacation or something, go on a cruise, see the world, whatever you want to do with it. I won't judge. So there we go. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions, there's my email. Please feel free to reach out. You can also catch us on all the socials at UMC Nashville, and at Gerard Longo 12 is my own. So please feel free to reach out on either one of those on Instagram. Very much happy to answer any questions, to work with you, and to figure out ways we can help you, because that's what we're in it for. We're here to serve, we're here to educate, and we're here to help you build your ecosystem so the greater creative ecosystem becomes even stronger. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you soon.